Good. How are you? Oh, hey, nice to meet you.
All right. You're in Philly or no?
No, I'm in Los Angeles, California.
Ah,
I've spent a ton of time in Philly. Done a bunch
nice.
of shows there as well, but I technically reside here, although I've been traveling so much in the last few years. A lot of people think I live in New York.
Yeah.
Uh, I had a cornea transplant 2 weeks ago. My eye's looking a little bit better, but in case it looks weird to you,
Are
that's
you
what.
are you totally staring at it, analyzing it?
It's a little weird in the mirror, I'll be honest with you.
Whatever makes you comfortable, man. I'm not aware of. You look fine. Or where you at in LA?
Silver Lake, California.
Okay.
Do you know LA? Where are you?
Well, I'm in Alaska. I was born in not necessarily LA. I was born in Riverside County. When I got a little older, I moved to Monrovia, next to Arcadia and Duarte,
Sure.
um, and then I moved. So I kind of familiar.
Where are you in Alaska now?
Juneau.
Nice. What are you
Yeah.
happy up there? It seems amazing.
Uh, I. It's kind of basically living on an island, and I prefer living in a city, and my wife too. But we just had our new little granddaughter. Well, she's a year and a month, so we're waiting for her till she gets older, and then we'll probably move.
Wow. I've
Yeah.
not been to Alaska. I've always wanted to go. I've never seen the Northern Lights, the Aurora Borealis. It's like on
Oh
my
wow,
bucket list. Yeah.
it's one of my favorite natural things. It's one of the most beautiful natural things you could see.
Well, now that I have a new eye, the timing's perfect to see something.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
oh yeah. We're down the street from a glacier that's depleting, so we try to enjoy everything.
Yeah, I bet. I bet it's a sort of a double-edged sword where in one sense it's sad that it's depleting because we destroyed the planet, but in another
Right.
sense, the waterfalls and the fresh water that flows off of it must be
Well, sorry, I was gonna add, like, it's interesting you say that. You go to the glacier, and when I was younger, I went to high school here, grew up in another town smaller than here. Came here, it was always, "Wow, look at the glacier," and then I came here in, like, 2003, and you start seeing the depletion, and the land is brown and fresh. I always joke with my wife, there's gonna be some ancient beast that's gonna thaw it out and or gases that.
well, that's true. There's the yeah, there's a lot of gas trapped beneath the permafrost, particularly
Right,
in like Siberia, that they say is like I can't remember the statistic now, but 100 times more potent a greenhouse gas than CO2.
right, just shit that they don't anticipate until it's too late, so.
Yeah.
Um, we here also, speaking of that, like bears now, their whole hibernation's thrown off because of the temperature, and they have migrated, and it's just wild. You see them more, and they eat whatever the hell they want, and like wolves are going places, moose, polar bears have hooked up with grizzlies to create a new species because they can't. They've had to migrate and survive, and it's just crazy.
Really? The polar bears
Yeah.
and the grizzlies are like creating a new
Yeah,
species?
yeah, because they've, migrated, and they've had to
They can
hang
interbreed
out.
between the two.
I mean, I guess,
What are they going to call them? Pisleys?
right? So,
Either way,
it's
that's
just
crazy. I've
wild.
always said that in Alaska and these places north, you guys are going to see the effects of climate change first. And it sounds like you guys, I mean, it was 96 degrees the last week of winter in Los Angeles last week. So I've been here since 1997, and that's never happened before.
I mean, dude, it's where was it? My friend was in Cincinnati or that region,
Yeah.
Ohio. She's like, "Man, the other day it was like 20 degrees." It's like, and here it's warmed up, and then it's gonna get cold and freeze. Because my wife just went on a trip, and literally she's like looking at the weather for me. She's like, "Just to let you know, next week it's gonna be cold, it's gonna be freezing." I'm like, "Okay," and I'm like, "This is just how it is. It's just been crazy." So, but that's the normal.
Sadly, it's not the normal because it's changing so fast that it'll be
Right,
normal for a
right,
little while, and then there'll be a new
right.
normal, and then another new normal, and then another new normal. And before you know it,
I mean, Can you say it's its season anymore? Like, do we have we don't have seasons. We have like whatever happens will
Yeah.
happen.
Yeah, we have weather just all
We have
year
weather,
round.
right?
If it can be hot in the middle of the winter and cold, like, and that's the other thing is the climate change brings cold weather. But try explaining that to a climate change denier, that the reason it's
Right.
so cold on the East Coast is because of climate change. Oh, you guys switched it. You used to call it global warming, and then when it wasn't getting warmer, you changed it to climate change. No,
Right.
that's none of that's true. They've always
Yeah.
called it climate change.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So so where'd you get started, or where are you from?
I got started well, kind of a slightly convoluted, circuitous path I took, but I came from Boston, Massachusetts, where I went to Berklee College of Music and
Oh wow,
uh, moved to Los Angeles to be a rock star.
nice.
I played in bands
Been there.
for darn near 20 years. Had a lot of
Wow.
got a lot of great success, signed some record deals, got a lot of radio play, got to see the world, tour all over. Had a blast. Um, and right around the time I was turning 40, uh, a friend of mine bought me a stand-up comedy class for my birthday. And I was like, I don't want to
Not a subscription, but like I don't know, an entrance or not.
in class
Okay, nice.
with a teacher and a bunch of people that wanted to, whatever, study stand-up comedy. And I told him I didn't want it, get his money back. And he said he couldn't get his money back. It was too late. And he said he
It was,
signed up for it too. He's like, I'm taking it with you, man.
oh wow, nice.
Yeah,
So
he's
you
a
really
good
can't
friend.
fake it.
Alex, shout out to Alex Juanez. He's my friend from high school back in Boston. He was
Nice.
my roommate when I was at Berkeley. He was at Emerson.
Wow.
And he moved out here too. That's the funny thing. When I moved to LA, an older musician told me, now that you're here and there's a couch for people to sleep on, everybody you know is going to end up out here. Like it's
Right.
just the way it goes. You
You're
you
the
you established
flagship.
the base camp and now everybody's going to travel.
Right.
And I kid you
Right.
not, man, within like 5 years, I think at one point I counted like 47 people I knew from Boston and moved to LA. Just we moved the
Fucking
whole
balls,
scene
man.
with us. It was crazy.
Nice. You're like, come on out, let's do this.
Yeah, it's fantastic. Those were good times, man. No regrets.
You
Zero regrets, but
when did you move out there?
1997.
So
Man, more than
so
20, almost 30 years ago. I can't keep up with the years
that's fucking
anymore.
wild. Well, how did you okay, so what was it Hollywood? Did you primarily do like the Hollywood scene, or
No, I lucked out
where'd
because
you
I am
go?
of the indie rock ilk, you could say.
Okay.
That it was literally happenstance that I ended up in Silver Lake, California. And then after a few years of being here, I realized that if I'd done all my research, which I didn't do any because that's just me, I just go. And if I'd done all my research, all my due diligence, I would have chosen Silver Lake, California. But by luck of the draw, I ended up exactly where I was supposed to be, which was the indie rock capital of the world with all the clubs and the bands that sounded like us. If I'd ended up in Hollywood, I mean, that was just such a different scene in 1997. It was like a metal, uh, you
It's
know,
still okay because I know, I'm like the previous generation where I wanted to go out there and be in a like rock band and all that, but I went to Chicago instead. But
oh, wow.
um yeah, so I get it. I'm just curious, like, because I know there was like a punk ska scene, from like back in the day, and then like later became like I think Orange County became a punk
Absolutely.
scene in
That's
the
where all the
90s,
punk in the sky is, Orange County.
where
Um,
Sublime and all that shit.
yep, all those guys for sure. In Chicago, just out of curiosity, so you went there to play music?
Well, no, so it's funny, and I was not hip to how hot the place was.
Very hot.
I was just like I didn't know, so it was cool. But like, so I met this woman. She was from there, and she hyped it up, and I was like, oh, whatever. Then I kind of fell in love with her. So I was like, cool. We went out there, and she's like, there's a music scene, da da da. And so I go out there, and like, bam, it's like 1995. I was like, oh shit, there's like so much going on. Like I'm just, meeting people and um there was a place called the Lounge Acts, which like Nirvana played,
Yeah.
War, fucking
Well, Steve Albini and
Steve Albini.
Electrical Audio Studios, where I made a record with Steve Albini with one of my bands. I went there and I lived in
Wow.
Chicago for a week at his studio and made
Where
a
was
record
that
with him.
located?
What's that?
Where you don't have to say exactly, but like where was that at? What area?
It's interesting. My entire family comes from Chicago. My parents
Nice.
grew up in Chicago. I lived in Downers Grove, Illinois, till I was like 12, but I couldn't tell you where it was located. But somewhere
Okay.
directly in the city, not far from
Nice.
all the fun stuff. I think Clark Street was maybe 10-minute
Right.
drive from
Okay.
there because I did want to go there and see
Nice.
Wrigley Field and all that stuff. But
Sure.
yeah, crazy interesting guy. So you live at the studio and he goes home and leaves you with the studio and
What
all the
the
gear, and he leaves it all on. And he tells you if you guys want to get up at 4 in the morning and come
Oh,
down here and play
wow.
through the so we were jamming on the amps at 4 in the morning, and then he would come in
Yeah,
and he
he
told me
has that
something.
philosophy, right? Where
Yeah,
he and I heard this, he'd been interviewed on WTF with Mark Maron, and he was like basically like I just let his philosophy is like it's kind of Rick Rubin-ish where you just kind of let it happen and then what
yeah,
he wants to capture it
yeah,
in its rawest, without contributing like an opinion, right?
right.
Something like that.
Absolutely, and which is why he never takes credit as producer. The records never
Right.
say produced by Steve Albini. They always say recorded by Steve Albini.
So how does that work then? Because he does have to get paid. I mean, that's just the fact of it. Because it is
No,
a business.
he was the true real deal, man.
He doesn't get paid for anything
He gets paid up front a flat fee for recording the
from the
band,
studio.
and he doesn't take points on the record. And he recorded the Pixies, the Breeders. I don't think he did do the Pixies,
Are
but
you
he did the
fucking
Breeders.
serious?
He did Nirvana. He did the Jesus Lizard. I mean, he could have been a millionaire
Right.
many times over, and he chose to basically die a pauper. I mean, he was not a rich man because his artistic integrity was
It's just
such,
too
and
punk rock.
that he was like, if you paid me to record your band, why should I get paid again for every record that gets sold?
Because like his sole job is to make the record, not
Yeah,
to
now I'm done.
reap reap the profits of it.
And
So
producers hated him for that philosophy. They were like, dude, you're screwing it up for
why you
everybody.
hate? Well, wait, like it's like why do you? I feel like if I was him, I'd be like, why do you care? Like I'm not affecting you. If that's my philosophy, like I'm gonna go down like that. Like so, let me be. Like, and it's just the idea because that's how greedy people are. It's like I can't even fathom that. That's like that makes me angry. It's like why do you even care? Like if you want to be a greedy fuck, go be greedy. But
Because they were afraid he was going to set the new industry standard.
like nobody's gonna do it for like
Yeah,
no
everyone's going to
man,
be like, be like
no.
Steve Albini. Well, pay you up front and then you don't get another
Right.
dime from us. But
He's
yeah,
like
I
the
mean,
yeah.
he recorded in
Wow.
Utero in specific, which was Nirvana's third studio album, and I couldn't say for sure, but I imagine he would have been paid over time so many millions of dollars that would have changed to instead. I think he made a lot of his money playing poker, if I'm not mistaken, because I had a lot of late night
Steve
conversations with
Albini
him. Yeah, he was a
playing
big
poker.
poker guy and a big comedy guy. So we had crossover because I'd already started.
Really?
Yeah, I'd already started doing stand up at the point when I went to make a record with
Wait,
him.
he did stand up
Well, I think he was a huge
or
fan.
he produced it?
I don't. Well, Rick Rubin actually produced one of the most famous stand up
Right.
records of all time, which
Andrew
is
Dice
Andrew Dice Clay's.
Andrew Dice Clay, yeah.
Yeah, when the
Um,
night the laughter died, but I think he was just a huge fan, but he was very into it, and that I think made him.
I mean, he's super obscure and like if you can find a rhythm in that, like I never knew that about him. I knew like you listen to him and is like he literally is like he's rock and roll like cuz he's very obscure and he's that like era of like nerd punk, just that like, technical geek guy and I don't know. I love
Yeah,
it. Like Big
super
Black
interesting
and
guy, man. And in
Yeah.
addition, when he records you, he tells you, and I've never heard a producer say this before in my life, the session ends when you say it ends. Like, I have no cutoff. I'm good for about
They
23 hours, then I start to fade. But if things are going
right,
well, we keep
right.
going.
Well, you have
That
an
was his
engineer too,
philosophy.
right?
Huh?
You also have an engineer that, like, keeps it going too, right?
I
So
think he had an engineer, yeah, on a few occasions,
right.
but some days he would also, because he would put on literally a mechanic's, whatever they call that, a mechanic's suit when he'd get to work. So he'd come to work in his clothes. I think he would ride his bike to work, and then he'd put on this electrical audio uh, mechanic's outfit, and that's what he would wear at work. You know, like in the old days, if you see the Beatles, the footage from the early days, the engineers all wore lab coats back then. Like, you'd see the guys working on the microphone, setting up the mics in front of the amps and whatnot, and they were all in
I
lab
That's
coats.
weird. I never knew that.
Yeah. And then they turned into, just the most stoned out looking bro you've ever seen. Not that they're
Yeah,
stoned out, but uh, s-
yeah.
studio folk, we call it a studio tan, the most pale guy who looks like he's been
Right.
living off of tacos. That's
Just
what an
laid
engineer
back
is.
and all about it. Yeah.
Yeah,
Dug in.
for sure. Yeah. So, and then I took that stand up comedy class, which I was against taking. I wasn't even sure I was into stand up comedy, to be honest with you. But my friend assured me that I was funny and that I had a natural talent for it. And I kid you not, Sean, when I say that one of the major considerations for me because I was 40 was I was like, when it comes to rock music, like, I have friends who've hit a point where they have roadies and jet airplanes and giant tour buses, and that's their life. I was at a point where I had a van, playing good shows, staying in nice hotels, but carrying my own gear. And it was really starting to, I mean, when you're 40,
Dude.
it's not so easy anymore carrying a Marshall stack. It was starting to hurt
No,
my back. And I
of
was
course.
like, when I first did comedy and I got those first laughs for something that there's this crazy feeling you have when you come up with a song idea in your bedroom and then 6 months later you hear it coming out of the speakers, because it's being played on the radio. I had a few songs that I was lucky enough to get on like K Rock and on BBC. John
Oh
Peel used to
wow.
play a few of our tracks back in the day. And you're like, that's the radio. And that's a song that was in my head coming out of
Yeah.
the
You produced
radio
that.
on K Rock. And
You
sort of
created
when
that.
you come up with an idea for a joke and then you tell it and then people laugh and they're enjoying it and then maybe
Yeah.
even you hear them telling your joke to each other later. I realized it scratched a similar, that the creative itch was getting scratched from a different angle, but that it was just as satisfying to scratch it from that angle.
Yeah.
And I was like, the only thing I have to carry to be a stand-up comedian is my brain, and that thing don't weigh nothing.
So I mean, but you also have so with if you go like into comedy, so what's great is like so you're in your 40s. Okay, so you could just you just dip into your memories
Yeah.
and being it's rock and roll, I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of funny ass stories to tell. It's funny you say that. I only have this, and I say this to all these comedians I interview. Like, it's funny you went from like music to comedy because I go back and I'm like, man, I could have just gone to Second City, and music's fun, but like you can really like you do a lot of different things within comedy because there's all these different like jobs. And I'm like, man, I should have gone and learned writing and performance and all, and just
It's never too
and then
late.
yeah, I know, and but I live here, and if if I get to a place where there's like any comedy classes, I'm taking them for sure, man.
Yeah, because I had that thought, man. When I was 40, I was like, I looked
Really?
around on the comedy scene in LA and it was people 20 years younger than me and more. And I said to myself, I feel old. Um, but, in one sense, rock and roll does have sort of, you kind of age out. Like, you feel like the old guy.
Right,
But then you look around stand-up comedy and there are guys way older than 40, still fresh,
right.
doing great material. Like, they don't, like, when you're 60 trying to be like the cool guy in a rock band, like, I don't personally think it looks that cool myself. It is a younger man's game. Comedy didn't feel that way, but I did feel old. And I said to myself, 10 years from now, I'm going to be 50 and I'll be glad I put in these years and you know, that I'll kick
Yeah.
myself if I'm 50 and say, I wasn't that old. Because you always look back 10 years later and think, I wasn't that old. You thought you were so old when you turned 30. And then when you turned
Oh
40,
man.
you're like, I wasn't old at all. And I knew when I turned 50, I'd look
Right.
back and go, 40 wasn't that old. I wish I did it. So with that
Yeah.
knowledge in my head, I just did it anyway. And I knew I was going to suck. There's no, because
No, but that's you have to kind
you
of
have to
to get.
suck. You have to eat shit in order to get good. Eating
Yeah.
shit is actually good for you. It's very nutritious in the comedy
You have to
game.
test everything, right? Like test the waters, try it out, throw it out there.
Well, more than anything, I found, and everybody's, you know, comedic journey is different, but I found that that's the Rubicon you have to cross, and you can't, you really aren't a real comedian in a sense until the bomb doesn't hurt you, until you know how to tell a joke that and have it not land, and then tell the next joke and just, you know, let it go, water off a duck's back. I distinctly remember, and this is I'm being totally serious. I remember the first night ever that, not that I bombed, it was probably the millionth time I bombed, but the first time that I ever bombed and was driving home, and I was thinking about how I had to pay my rent, or that there was this thing coming on Netflix that I was looking forward to seeing, and I went, "Oh my God, I bombed and I'm not wallowing in it. I bombed and just let it go, and I'm driving home thinking about this series that's coming on Netflix or whatever that I want to watch." And I went,
Yeah.
"Okay, something good just happened.
You
I've
like
crossed
dust
some sort of
off.
a Rubicon." And not that it doesn't hurt when you bomb still,
Right.
but it doesn't kill you like it used to. It destroy like I had some shows where, you know, a few jokes didn't land and it destroyed me. And then the audience sees that you're nervous. Then the audience sees that you're vulnerable. Then it, it becomes a feedback loop and things just get worse and worse and worse and worse. And I've seen guys in the middle of a bomb pull out of that nosedive.
Right.
And there's something to that.
You gotta you so you have to learn how to glide kind of glide through it and make sure they don't see that, right? Just kind of like just
Yeah.
play it off like okay, whatever, you know.
Well, nowadays it's mostly not I don't want to say intentional, but you do reach a point when uh, open mics have a diminishing return because open mics aren't real audiences; those are fellow comedians, so they laugh at different things. And
Oh,
yeah, so
huh.
once you start in the early days, you got to do the open mics. You got to do a lot of open mics. I would do 3 a
Right.
night. I was also
Yeah.
a single guy with no
Right.
no
No life.
prospective ladies on the horizon anyway, so it didn't
Right.
matter. I had nothing but time on my hands at 40, so I'd do 3 a night, but you have to do them. But then you reach a point when you're getting booked in real clubs now in front of real audiences, particularly on a Friday or Saturday night when it's people that got off work or it's their weekend and they're just out to have fun. They laugh at something so different than the open
Right.
mic will that you can't really test material on the open mic audience in the same way because it's just the response is going to be different. And, you know, you have stuff that kills in the club and bombs at the open mic, or kills at the open mic because these sick fucks are so, you know, numb to jokes that the only thing that makes them laugh is the most horrible thing that you could possibly say out of your mouth. So now when you get longer sets in the real clubs, you layer it, you know, where it's material that works, new stuff that you're not sure if it works, and then you close with material that works. So there's a segment of the set where it's not intentional that you're not going to do well, but it's kind of a surprise, or it's just icing on the cake when you do well, because this is your opportunity to see if you, and it's okay if a few of those jokes fall flat because you placed them in a point in the set when it is where it would be okay for those jokes to not smash.
Like so you have a segment where you kind of test some stuff out so you don't really give a shit, like you're kind of okay, that sucks. Okay, don't do that. Like focus on the good points of that joke kind of thing. Kind of figure
For
out what
sure.
works, what doesn't.
It's just about finding out what works and what doesn't. And, you know,
Oh yeah.
it's the best way to do comedy is to be a little bit loose. And any comic
Right.
will tell you that they'll write a joke, the joke won't do well. And then because the joke doesn't do well, they kind of riff on it. And then that does well. And then that becomes the joke. The
Right.
thing you said off the top of your head is now the joke. And the thing that you spent 20 minutes working on in your bedroom the night before is thrown out, you know?
Right, right, right.
The human condition is an interesting one, and we don't fully know what people are going to laugh at or relate to. And I think every comic's got a line or a joke where they're not even sure why it's funny. But boy, do people laugh every time they say it. You know, I've
Right.
had friends explain my jokes to me. Well, I'll say to them, yeah, people laugh every
Right.
time I say that. And I'm not even sure why. And they go, oh, dude, because what you're doing is, and they're like, oh, wow,
Right.
that actually wasn't my intention, but that's what everyone's getting out of it. So great, terrific, you know?
It's like a song. You get your interpretation from it, like, and what you get from it. And that's
Absolutely.
what makes you bust out. You, have you ever been told you could do, like, voice work?
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, you could, man. You got a good voice.
Thank you.
Some narration or something,
I would
like
love that. If you
descriptive.
know some people, please put in a call on my
Sure.
on my behalf.
Me?
Yeah.
Well, if I have ideas of stuff, I'd love to, like, just throw them your way,
Oh,
and
please.
you tell me what you think. But, so who's your, like, favorite comedian?
You know, that's
Or some very there's tons, like, who are your favorites, I should say?
you know, I I think that there's I honestly think that this is all just a pattern with me, which is, when it comes to music, I'm just that guy. I love old music. I love the originals, of any sound. I like the people that developed it and curated it, and for some reason, my ear doesn't like the people that are doing it years later. That's why I do love, I mean,
Oh,
the
okay.
Beatles and the Zombies for my '60s pop, like, that's
Oh,
what I like.
nice.
I like the
I
people
like
who
the
did it. For
zombies,
my
yeah.
'70s rock, I like, Led Zeppelin,
Yeah.
like, more than anything, and Black
Mm.
Sabbath. For my '80s, I like REM, for my
Oh, wow.
'90s, I love Nirvana, I like Alice in Chains. For my 2000s, I like The Strokes, and then anybody that comes around, years later sounding like that, I don't like it nearly as much for some reason because it's like, "Oh, you're just trying to do Nirvana, or you're just trying to do the Beatles,"
Right.
and Oasis is an exception, they do the Beatles very well. And even there's a brand new band, brand new, with a totally original sound that I love so much called, Angine de Poitrine. I don't know if you've come across
Huh.
them yet?
No,
You
no.
gotta check them out.
Okay.
It's beyond bizarre. They come out in bizarre outfits. Two dudes. I assume they're dudes. They're in these crazy costumes. The guy plays a microtonal guitar and a microtonal bass at the same time, and it's blowing up
So
the
what does
internet
that mean when it's microtonal? What
because
is that?
music is divided into 12 tones in the Western world. That's it. That's all there is. 12 notes.
Weird. Huh.
But some other musical traditions, particularly Eastern traditions, Indian music in specific, they have notes in between our notes, and we call those microtones.
Wow.
And these
That's
guys are
cool.
experimenting with that, and it's just so wild. So in that, I'm just saying, whenever it's like super fresh and original, like I love it. Like the Carter
Yeah, I
Family, like when
agree.
it comes to folk, I listen to the Carter Family, and it's
The Carter
scratchy and
family.
old, and
Nice.
you're like, God,
Yeah.
I feel like I'm there. And so in that,
Right.
it is really
Yeah.
Lenny Bruce more than anything. Even though sometimes,
What? Oh man, it's funny you mentioned. Sorry. So I've been in like contact with Kitty Bruce,
oh
his
wow,
daughter. And I just been talking to her. She's not, she's going through some stuff. I don't want to say anything, but I would just love to talk to her because I'm constantly thinking about her dad when it comes to like censorship and all the stuff
yeah.
going on. But um, so sorry, you got
No,
me.
it's just
Uh,
in that. That's why I think I love Lenny
sure.
Bruce like I do. Like I can listen to him for hours. Like a lot of comedy, you can't listen to it like a rock record. You can listen to Led Zeppelin over and over and over and over again. But when you listen to, Dave Chappelle, he makes you laugh that first time. And then the second time, maybe as a fellow comedian, you're listening to the artistry and the
And
craftsmanship
yeah,
there, but the jokes aren't going to hit. But Lenny Bruce is engaging to me every time. And I love the sound of the people in the crowd when you can hear the glasses clink and the person talking and
yeah,
the cigarette being smoked and him talking to the
right,
crowd. And he has references that I don't know what they are. He's talking about an
right.
actor that I don't know who
Very
he is,
obscure.
but somehow I'm still engaged.
Right.
Like there's
He's
something about that era. And then when you get
he's
into what he did with the Supreme Court and my right as a comedian to say what I want to say on stage that he fought for and earned me that
like he
right.
literally got arrested and
Yeah.
and and his whole thing is like so his shit was like super intelligent where you can reference it for um like design of a joke to like how what he was talking about, and like his shit was just so raw where you have to think about like, okay, what was he really saying? And then like, no, he went to jail for this shit. A lot of these people get a Netflix special and they whine about shit, but it's like you can say whatever you want, but like,
Yeah.
there's like consequences. I hate to say, you can't just run your mouth. There's especially right now. There's consequences because
Yeah.
that corporation may not like you or whatever the
Oh,
fuck
I'm
people.
banned on all social media because I can't keep my big mouth shut and I say what I feel like, but I've been shadow banned and my posts don't get out. But yeah, Lenny, yeah, and in addition of just the fact that he fought for us and the fact that there's a nostalgia, or just there's something about the era that you can hear through the headphones, where you can hear the 1960s in your headphones.
Well, the early, yeah, like in playing at a strip club.
Yeah,
Like I want to do a story about like that era, but yeah,
right.
that
But in
shit
addition
in
to that,
LA.
he was a triple threat. How many comedians are triple threats now? I mean, he literally would come out, he did jokes, he did stories, but then he would sing. He sang on the Steve Allen show. He would sing, he would do poetry, he'd do beat
Oh,
poetry. And he would do character, and he was an actor, but
yeah.
not an actor in films. He would play each character in front of you, a one-man show on stage in a way that very few
Mhm.
people do. And I'll just lay my cards on the table right now. My special, which you can see it now, I'm signed to Comedy Dynamics.
Mm.
I have a special called War Bar, and it's on Apple TV, YouTube, Amazon.
Oh, wow.
Um, Please, anyone listening, check it out. But the centerpiece of my entire special is a bit called War Bar, which is my homage to Lenny Bruce. A lot of people are like, "That's a really original bit, man. I think that's really original." I'm like, "It's actually not. I'm acting out all the characters. I'm playing. It's the bit is basically, without giving away too much, um, that I have anthropomorphized wars, and they're all hanging out at a bar for famous wars in
Wow.
Hollywood. And I'm playing World War One, World War Two, the Crimean
Nice.
War, the Cold War, and they all have different personalities, And I'm
Right.
just laying my cards on the table. I'm not trying
That's pretty
to take
good.
any credit that I don't deserve. That is my homage to Lenny Bruce, that entire bit, and I'm glad people like it. I hear a lot about that bit. People think it's one of my better bits, and I owe it to Mr. Bruce. You can tell his daughter that.
Man, if I could, it might just be like, I might be able to do a audio interview, but, yeah, that would be cool, man. Like, yeah, I have to I have to think about what I would, say to her and
Sure.
ask her and stuff, but, yeah, what so wh who are, like, you already named your favorite groups, your music groups, let's see, what are your do you have any, like, comedy goals, like, that you wanna do, like, or I don't know,
They're
like, I always
changing.
ask this to
They're changing,
everybody.
sadly, all the time. But
Yeah.
I originally really wanted to write for late night. Uh,
Really?
that was my
Nice.
dream because I love writing. I am a political person. I have a show. You can listen to it just about anywhere you get podcasts, called Regilio v. Everything.
Nice.
I discuss politics. I think I'm somewhat insightful. I hope I am to some degree. But it's just, look, man, I was in. Again, cards on the table. I'm as left as they get. I'm left. I'm about left of Bernie Sanders, I would say. But I started off as a young Republican in the Young Republicans in high school, for which I
Wow.
campaigned for and attended George H.W. Bush's inauguration, even though I was too young to vote. And I went to his inauguration with the Young Republicans in high school. Uh, when I first moved to California, one of the first places I went was the Reagan Library. So politics is in my blood. So yeah, writing for Colbert was, the dream. Seth Meyers, way up there. Jimmy Kimmel, to this day, I love him. I
Yeah.
think he's an American icon. I used to want to write for Bill Maher, but I feel like he's
She's that fucking guy, man.
something happened to him.
Yeah. But, wow, that's pretty cool. I'd like to. I have a well, my friend has a who's my partner is like he's got a podcast and it's all like politics, and so I'd like to bring you on. I'll let you know.
Oh,
I'll give you a
please.
heads up, and then you tell me what you think or whatever. But yeah, we talk about everything too and what's going on.
Yeah.
Let it out.
Yeah. I try and add it. So I guess my only point was that that used to be the goal, but
Mhm.
as I've gotten to um, get signed and put out a comedy special and get out there, I've done some touring. Uh, I'm starting to fall in love with that life as well, which I don't think a stationary writer could do as well. So that dream is not that it's on hold. I would definitely still do it if the job opportunity came along, but it seems like I don't know. I've made every effort to get noticed by
Yeah.
Jimmy Kimmel and Stephen Colbert and Seth Meyers, and
How do
uh,
you how do you go about doing that when you like seriously try to
I've
pursue
gotten to
that?
submit writer packets to, I think, 3 of those. I've never gotten to submit to Kimmel. I would love to still, but I keep
Oh,
it
okay.
fresh. I have a writer's pack going all day, every day. I add probably 15 jokes a week to it and remove 15 jokes a week to it, so it's always fresh and ready to go.
Wow.
I've started writing screenplays. That's another
Really?
thing I do. The Young Republicans, the story of me going to Washington as a high schooler, that is a screenplay I just finished. I have another one
Nice.
that finished a few years ago. I'm working on a third. So my goals are, again, as I said, I discovered that that creative itch, which meant everything to me as a young musician, staying up till, no joke, 8 a.m. almost every
Yeah,
night playing guitar. I used
that
to
shit's great, man.
this was how I judged the success of a day. If I opened my eyes and it was 9 a.m. and I was in all my clothes, the lights were on, and I was on my bed with my guitar still in my hands, and I realized I fell asleep playing guitar, I'd go, yes, another perfect day.
You
I
did
want to
it.
play guitar until I collapse every night.
Yeah.
And I did that till I was like 35. So that creative itch was so important to me. And when I realized I could scratch that itch from other angles, comedy being one, screenwriting being one, monologue
Yeah.
joke writing being one. I tried acting. I'm be honest with you.
Well, I'm saying,
Everyone's their
man, you
own
can
worst
do
critic, but I
voice.
was like, this is going to be too much work. I'm starting from such a point of sucky that for me to get good at acting, I would be
Dude.
80. I'd be 80 by the time I was any good at it.
Yeah, but dude, the guy who did Optimus Prime from the Transformers, he did that voice till he was, like, in his 80s, man, like,
Well, maybe that day will come.
I think you could, man, if you have a good flow, if you could find that one, character and kinda work with or whatever, that group that
Yeah.
you could work I think, just saying from talking to you, I can already I hear it. I hear
Well,
something.
maybe I'm my own worst critic, but I took an acting class and I looked at all the other people in the class and I was like, "Oh, they're way better than me. I'm behind the
Oh,
8 ball on this one."
you like just walked into it like, "Fuck it, man," and then walk out kinda thing. Like,
Yeah.
you're like, "How do I compete with this?" And it's like, "Well, I mean, damn, dude,
You
like."
work your ass off. Look, I realized that. That's why I said, but it just I did the math in my head. I was like, because
Yeah,
I was so naive that I used to watch movies and be like, acting looks easy.
right. I
These
mean,
people
because
are
it
just
does.
yeah.
And then you hear interviews with, like, the actors, and some of them you're like, "How's that guy get a gig, man? He's
Yeah.
so like, it just comes out of him,"
Yeah.
like, and he's famous, and you're like,
Yeah. It
"What
is
the
a pretty
fuck?"
crazy concept, though, that if you and I have a conversation naturally, like we're doing right
Right,
now, that's just we seem totally natural. And if there were cameras on us and we didn't know it, you could film it. It would be a
right,
natural conversation. But then if we tried to recreate it and we knew
right,
the cameras are on us, it becomes impossible. The thing we do naturally without trying, when you try and
right,
do it, is hard. What?
right. Exactly.
You'd think if it
Exactly.
was just came to you, like if you naturally were good at guitar and you picked up a guitar and then they turned on the recording machine, you'd
That's
still be good at it. But for some
I
reason, you can
was
naturally be a person. But when they turn on the
yeah,
cameras and you try and be a person, you suck at it.
right. I was like that with music where I grew up in LA, or, Southern California in the '80s, so my biggest like rock god was Van Halen,
Oh yeah.
and you'd see like Eddie Van Halen play, and he was so like effortless and like just and it was like, yeah, I can do that. Like I can do all that,
Yeah.
I feel that like and they sound really good and they look like they have so much fun. And I was connected because the bass player is
Michael
my
Anthony.
godmother's nephew, Michael Anthony. And so I grew up with hearing about them. The entire area was like they're just gods in that whole
Well, they
like
were.
3 town. They were gods, but I mean they really were like because there used to be a big graffiti thing in the mountains that said Van Halen country, and it
Wow.
was just like so like they're the gods of like that area. Like David Lee Roth still, he's got a big mansion in Pasadena,
Yeah.
like that hell, he's the real deal. So
Diamond
I
Dave.
grew up with that, and Diamond Dave, and like they were just like just badass because they went like above and beyond where the guys in Hollywood wanted to be like Dave,
Yeah.
and they want to be like Eddie Van
Oh
Halen,
my
and
God. I've been on a bit of
yeah,
an Eddie Van Halen kick recently, and I come to realize because you can find on social media a million and one guys that can play Eddie Van Halen songs note for note perfectly. And then you
right,
watch Eddie Van Halen do it, and you realize the difference between everybody, I mean everybody
yeah,
that tries to do Van Halen and the original Eddie Van Halen is these guys all, no matter how perfect it sounds, look like they have maxed out their skill level and they are trying so hard to get this right. And Eddie Van Halen
yeah.
looks like he's freaking barely paying attention. Like it's just effortless for him, and that's the difference. That's what made him
Like,
a
did he write?
god.
It's like, did he just jam, record it, edit it, and because they talked about they're releasing like a bunch of like albums worth of shit they've never even touched, and then like use singers. They don't want to use they don't want to use Dave, Sammy Hagar. They don't want to use Gary Sharon. They want to use other people. So I'm like, how's that even gonna work, man? But
Whoa. So you're saying that they have tracks that Eddie played on, but nobody sang on? They're gonna have somebody new sing on it?
yeah, he said this like he made like him and Prince were like that where there's thousands of hours
Yeah.
of just doodling and whatever the fuck and production. The keyboards. I fell in love with like the production because he was just doing shit that was so ahead of its time. Where I think like maybe Brian May kind of was like one of those guys where the sound is so unique and it's like I don't even like comparing him to anybody else because it's just like his sound, like the way he played and how he technically like I have a shirt like Eddie Van Halen's like I'm just like dude's just a god like I got tattoos like everything and
Wow. Well, yeah.
I mean I was like the synth sound is like if you watch the movie Wildlife which is like the sequel to Fast Times at Ridgemont High.
Oh wow.
He he did like the entire soundtrack, and I was like, and I fell in love with it because it was just him. It wasn't any. It just all his guitar and synth shit, and I was like, I'm like, he's God, man. Like he just like he just encapsulates like LA in the '80s rock, like cool. Like I'm like, that's it, man. That's it. I'm proud of that place. Not anymore, not anymore, like, not in the same way, but just, like, just crazy, dude.
Yeah. No, Eddie Van Halen. Amazing.
Thanks,
Agreement.
man, you're the best for listening. You get it, though, right? Like, I
To-
mean, I don't know for you if who's it
Absolutely, I get it. I could never do it, but I admired the living hell out of Eddie Van Halen. My first ever guitar had the stripes all over it.
Oh, okay, you get it then, like,
Yeah.
I did the same thing.
Whammy bar, you name it. Yeah, like I actually have been on a real Eddie Van Halen kick recently, watching a lot of vintage footage, man. He was the man.
And it's funny because I heard his son plays. He was being
Wolfgang.
interviewed talking about his dad. Yeah, he can do it too.
Yeah.
But and I guess Dweezil Zappa, he's played with him, and there's a whole thing. It's just, yeah, he's got that certain sound, and it's just crazy. You do hear people play like him. He's just one of a kind. It's just,
Yeah. Last
yeah.
thing I'll say about it is David Lee Roth is touring. I've watched some of the footage of his band, and I always look at the guitar player and go, dude, you got the hardest job in the history of music.
Right, but but on the other hand, like, he picks, like, really good guitar. I mean, Steve
For
Vai,
sure.
like, for his as much he can handle it,
Yeah. Not as good. I
it
mean,
was
he used to have Steve
amazing.
Vai back in the day when he put out Eat 'em and Smile. And see, he had Steve
Fucking godlike.
Vai on guitar, Stu Ham on bass,
Right.
and Bissonette on
Bassinet,
drums.
yeah.
Yeah, that was
Really
his.
nice guy too, yeah.
I
Or
bet.
no,
Yeah.
Billy
Those guys were
Sheehan,
players.
Billy Sheehan.
Oh, was it? Yeah.
Billy Sheehan, yeah, dude. Amazing. Hey, man, it sounds like you gotta go. I don't wanna keep you, dude, but, I appreciate talking to you, man, and just, you're great, great to talk to. I'd like to have you back on
I'd love that.
and bullshit some more, man. Thank you.
Sounds good, man. Just keep me in the loop and stay in touch. We'll talk soon.
All right, take care.
Adios.